Tun was a young bus conductor in Lagos. Every morning, before the sun woke up, Tun was already at the bus park. Yaba! Oshodi! CMS! He shouted as loud as he could. The yellow buses were always full. People rushed everywhere. Cars honked. Traders sold food. The city never seemed to sleep. Life was not easy for Tund. Sometimes he worked from morning until night. Sometimes his feet hurt so much that he could barely walk home. But he always smiled, because Tund had a dream, a very big dream. One day, he wanted to become rich. One day, he wanted a better life. And there was someone he wanted to share that life with. Her name was Kemi. Kemi was kind. She was beautiful. She believed in Tund even when nobody else did. Every evening after work, they sat together by the roadside. Sometimes they shared roasted corn. Sometimes they shared ground nuts. Sometimes they simply talked and laughed. One evening, as the orange sun slowly disappeared into the sky, Tund looked at Kemi and smiled. One day, I will build a big house for you. Kemi laughed softly. I don't need a big house. Tund looked surprised. You don't? She shook her head. No. What do you need? Kemi smiled. I just need you. Tund smiled too. At that moment, everything felt perfect. But sometimes, life changes when you least expect it. A few weeks later, Kemi asked Tund to meet her. Something was different. She looked nervous, very nervous. Her hands trembled. She kept looking down. Tund became worried. Kemi, what is wrong? Kemi took a deep breath. Then another. Finally she spoke. Tund, yes, I am pregnant. The world suddenly felt quiet. Tund could hear only one thing, his own heartbeat. Boom! Pregnant? A baby? Now, his mouth became dry. His hands felt cold. He wanted to say something, anything, but no words came out. That night, Tund could not sleep. He turned left. He turned right. He stared at the ceiling. His thoughts raced through his mind. How would he feed a child? How would he pay school fees? What if he failed? What if he became a bad father? The more he thought, the more afraid he became. Fear grew inside him like a giant shadow. Instead of facing the problem, he began running from it in his mind. The next day, Kemi called. Tund did not answer. She called again. Still no answer. Days passed. Kemi sent messages. Tund ignored them. Deep inside, he knew what he was doing was wrong. But fear had become stronger than courage. One early morning, before anyone woke up, Tund packed a small bag. He looked around his tiny room. His heart hurt. Tears filled his eyes. But he kept packing. Soon he boarded a bus leaving Lagos. As the bus pulled away, he looked through the window. The city slowly disappeared behind him. A tear rolled down his cheek. But he did not go back. Kemi waited, and waited, and waited. But Tund never came. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Kemi searched everywhere. She visited bus parks. She called friends. She asked questions. Nobody knew where Tund was. At night, she cried quietly. Sometimes she sat alone and stared into the darkness. Sometimes she held her growing stomach and whispered softly, "It is okay. We will be okay." Even when her heart was broken, she stayed strong, because she was no longer alone. A little baby was growing inside her. Far away, Tund started a new life. The work was hard, very hard. He carried heavy loads. He worked under the hot sun. His hands became rough. His back hurt. His body became tired. But every time he wanted to give up, he remembered why he left. He wanted success. He wanted money. He wanted a better future. So he kept working. Meanwhile, the day finally came. Kemi gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. When the nurse placed the baby in her arms, tears filled Kemi's eyes. The little girl opened her tiny eyes. Kemi smiled. "You are beautiful." She kissed her forehead. "I will call you Amara." From that moment, Amara became Kemi's greatest treasure. Years passed. Amara grew into a bright little girl. She laughed often. She loved helping her mother. She loved singing and dancing. But there was one question she always wanted answered. One afternoon, she sat beside Kemi. "Mummy, yes? Where is my daddy?" Kemi's smile faded. For a moment, she did not know what to say. Then she gently touched Amara's hair. "He is far away." Amara nodded. But deep inside, she wondered if she would ever meet him. Far away, something amazing was happening. Tund had saved every naira he earned. One day he bought an old minibus. It was rusty. It was ugly. It made strange noises, but it worked. Soon he started carrying workers. Then he bought another bus. Then another. Then another. Slowly, his business grew. Years later, Tund became a millionaire. He owned buses. He owned trucks. He owned buildings. People respected him. People admired him. But at night, when everything became quiet, one thought always returned. Kemi, and the child he had never met. Then one day, fate stepped in. Tund traveled to Lagos for business. Traffic was heavy. Cars barely moved. As he sat in his car, he noticed a teenage girl selling sachet water. There was something familiar about her. Very familiar. He stared. The girl walked closer. His heart suddenly stopped. The eyes, the smile, the face. She looked exactly like him. Tund's hands began to shake. Could this be? No. Could it really be? After work, he quietly followed her dressed casually. She walked through small streets, past shops, past houses. Finally, she entered a modest home. Tund waited outside. Then the door opened. A woman stepped outside. Tund froze. His heart nearly jumped out of his chest. It was Kemi. After all these years, Kemi looked up. Their eyes met. Everything stopped. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then tears filled her eyes. Tund? His voice trembled. I am sorry. Those 3 words carried years of regret, years of guilt, years of pain. Later someday they sat together and talked. For hours. Tund told her everything. His fears, his mistakes, his regrets. Kemi listened quietly. Then she said something he would never forget. You left when we needed you most. Tund lowered his head. Because she was right. The truth hurt. But it was the truth. That evening, Tund finally met Amara. The girl looked at him carefully. Very carefully. Then she asked the question he had feared for years. You are my daddy? Tund's eyes filled with tears. He nodded. Yes. For a moment, Amara simply stared. Then she smiled. A small smile. A warm smile. And in that moment, something broken inside Tund began to heal. Slowly, he started making things right. Years later, they stood together in front of Tund's company building. The sun shone brightly above them. Kemi smiled. Amara laughed. Tund looked at them and felt something money could never buy. Peace, love, family. He finally understood an important lesson. Money can build a house, but love builds a home. And this time, no matter what happened, he would never run away again. The end.